Sorry, by the way, that I'm looking right side. Just my laptop is here and my main monitor is here in camera, so that's
Yeah,
why.
no worries. I'm
Um,
kind of doing the same thing. My mic or my camera's a little off to the side, so I'm trying to remember to look at the camera and not
no, it's
the
okay. It's
monitor.
okay. It's okay. It's okay. Uh, okay, let me do an announcement that we have actually started. My Discord. Okay. Fine. I'm working. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay. If I'm correct, my voice is picked up normally. Let me check out if. Oh, nice, it's working. Okay, let me see into my original position. You can hear me well, right? So there is no echo.
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Okay,
No, you're great. Yeah.
perfect,
And likewise on my end. Do I sound
perfect,
okay?
perfect, perfect, perfect. Yeah.
Sweet.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let us know if the audio and video quality on both of our side is good, so we can actually start. Please let me know. Hölgyek, urak, hogyha bármilyen kérdés van, akkor a végén tudtok kérdezni. At the end of the interview, you will be able to ask questions like always, and please let me know if we can start. Oh, by the way, I have sent you my Twitch link, right? Do you want to follow up the chat, or should I read out loud for you the questions?
Yeah, I just got it pulled up now.
Okay, okay, okay.
So yeah, I can see it.
If they
Yep.
if they are going to be in Hungarian, I will translate it to you.
Cool. Appreciate it.
You're welcome, you're welcome. Patika, minden kezdhetünk? Jó. Okay, let me know if you're down to start as well.
Yeah.
Let's go? Okay.
Yeah, sounds great to me.
Welcome, everyone, in the very new episode of my Dev Live show. I'm today joined with Kyle Banks, who is the creator of the game called Farewell North. And I'm very appreciated and very honored that you joined us for today's episode. And thank you so much for being here. And like I'm always saying, let's start with a little bit of introduction. So please introduce yourself for us.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, so thank you so much for having me. So yeah, as you said, my name's Kyle Banks. I'm a game developer. I recently released my first game called Farewell North. It's an emotional, atmospheric adventure game about a border collie restoring color to your human's world. I really enjoy narrative-driven, story-driven games, and yeah, that's what I kind of want to work on. So I just did my first game. I also do game dev vlogs on YouTube, getting a little bit more technical, showing a little bit behind the scenes of what goes into making a game. And yeah, I'm based in Scotland, and I think that's about it for me.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for it. Okay, so my very first question would be, what was your very first contact with video games as a player? And question goes also as a developer.
As a player, I don't know my very first, but the first memory that kind of stands out is my grandpa
Okay.
got me a Sega Genesis when I was, I don't know, very young. I don't know how old I was, but quite young. Back when the Sega Genesis was like the hit, the big new console. And I remember playing like the Tick, which is based on like the Tick action comic book. I don't even know if people know about that anymore. Like Steamboat Willie, bunch of like really like kids games and stuff. But I was hooked. I absolutely loved the Sega Genesis. And then as a developer in college, when I was 20 or so, I started learning programming. So I'm a software engineer. That's my kind of career. And when I first learned to program, like literally the first day, I learned how to like write like the most basic terminal kind of like text on a terminal kind of thing. I ran home and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna figure out how to make games with this. And I was like making tic-tac-toe and like really basic stuff. And so yeah, for the last like 12, 15 years, just been kind of like dabbling with game development on the side and kind of learning all the skills that it takes to make a full game. And yeah, but it was like as soon as I learned how to program, I was like, I'm making games. Like this is the coolest thing ever.
I see. I see. Okay. Okay. And so during those years that you were learning and picking up skills how to make your own game, were you also working on games for other companies, or you had a totally different job?
No, so I've never worked for like a game development studio or anything. I've
Okay.
always
Okay.
worked on the software side.
I
So
see.
for
I
like
see.
tech startups.
I see.
So I've worked in like energy, automotive, healthcare, fitness, stuff like that, but never games.
I
Games
see.
was always kind of like a side hobby.
I see. Okay. How do you feel? What could be, or what was causing you like not to start immediately after like you graduated university of making your own games? Like, were you scared to take the first step, or like did you find it hard to start your own project? How do you feel about it? Or you really just wanted
Um,
to make sure that you have all the knowledge for it?
yeah, I mean, I did start making games immediately
Okay, okay,
as like a hobby project, but it never. I mean, it just took a really long time before that felt like it was something that was actually going to be viable as like a
I
career.
see, I see, I see.
Um, it took a long time to kind of like figure out all the all the different skill sets and all the different things that go into making a game. Back in like 2014 or so, I actually finished a game. It's like my first kind of fully finished project, but I just wasn't like proud of it. It wasn't very good, and I was too scared to release it, so I never did. Um, yeah, it wasn't until like 2020 when I started working on Feral North that I was like, okay, this actually might be like a legit game that could actually, people might actually want to play. So yeah, it just really took that long to kind of like hone the skills and build the confidence to kind of go for it.
I see, I see. And speaking of the game that you have never released, like, do you have that game still? Like, could you release it at a later date?
Yeah, I have the source code and everything.
I see,
It was a mobile game
I
for
see,
Android and iOS, and a lot of that like first of all, the language it was written in doesn't even exist anymore on iOS. I don't
I
think
see.
anymore. They don't. I don't think they use Objective C anymore. So there'd be a lot of work to like kind of get it up to modern standards and like polish it up in a state that's like releasable at all. So it wouldn't even be worth like the time it would take to kind of like fix it all up and like put it online for free kind of things. It would take a bit of effort to get it up to speed.
I see. I see. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, and so speaking about Farewell North, so what was that click that really hooked you up in that realizing that okay, now I'm that phase of my life when I'm totally and can fully go into making my own game. So what was that click in your life, if you can remember that?
Yeah, I mean, it still wasn't like an easy decision.
Okay,
Um, it wasn't like one day I woke up and I was like, this is good to go. Like
I
I
see.
can
I
definitely
see. I
do
see.
this. It took a while. So Feral North took about 4 years to develop, and even the first 3 years I was still working full time, like as a software engineer. And then at the end of like the third year, my contract at work was coming up. The kind of division of this company I was working for wasn't going to be continuing, and I was
I
kind
see.
of like thinking about picking up a new job, starting a new role, or moving to another company. And I was just like I'm putting so many hours in Feral North, so much into it. It seems to have traction. Like we have the wish list, we have all the metrics that kind of going on in our favor. Like if I don't take the jump now, I'm never going to. Like it was kind of the perfect storm of like this is like the right time to do it. I had
I
the
see.
savings to support myself and all that. So yeah, but even then, it wasn't like a confident decision. Like it was very nerve wracking. It was very scary. But yeah, I think it was just we had the wish list. It was clearly resonating with people. TikTok and YouTube and stuff were really like kind of lighting up at the time. Like people seemed to really be connecting with the game. And I needed to find a new role, and I just didn't feel like I could like put the effort into starting a new role when I was putting so much time into Feral North. So I just decided, yeah, to go for it.
I see. Okay. Okay. That's a beautiful story, by the way, about it. Okay. So and have you had the story of your game way before then you actually started making it? Like, have you always had this idea of your story of this game?
No, I had the idea for the kind of central hook, the whole restoring color to the world. Um, that was pre-existing from some earlier. Actually, that project that I finished but never released
I see.
was about restoring color to the world.
I see.
So I loved that idea. That really stuck with me. But the actual like narrative of the game, playing as a dog and helping a human and going through the Scottish Islands and all that, that that was brought about basically by my move to Scotland, just kind of in time for starting this project. So I really wanted to, because I moved to Scotland in 2020, and then we had the pandemic, and I couldn't explore Scotland, but it was kind of the game was kind of like an outlet to explore Scotland in a different way,
I see.
my new country. Um, and then it kind of just evolved. Like it wasn't really like perfectly planned from day one. I
I
kind of
see.
knew some of the main beats. I knew the ending. I kind of knew all the pieces I wanted to have along the way. But it took a few years to kind of like fully understand what the game was, kind of flesh it all out and get the whole thing. um, to a state where I felt like the story was actually good. So it wasn't really like, yeah, it wasn't really like perfectly planned from day one. It took a while to kind of piece it all together.
I see. I see. Okay. Okay. So I will have some more questions about the story, but let's go into some more like personal questions if you don't mind. So how do you feel about
Sure.
during the process that you really like started making your very first game? Do you feel like your close friends and family have been supportive about your decision that you actually want to make your own game? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, my wife is actually my biggest cheerleader. She doesn't play a lot of games. She plays a few games, but she's extremely supportive and really kind of like pushes me to kind of go further with it, I
I
would
see. I
say.
see.
And she's also like I credit her as an additional writer because for 4 years I was always like bouncing ideas off of her, and she always was, patient, ready to give the time, ready to help me kind of work through the story and all these different things. Even though it wasn't really something that she had a lot of experience with like playing games, she was still very open to like helping with like kind of the narrative side and just being someone to bounce ideas off of. And then I started a YouTube channel, a TikTok channel during development.
I see.
And that's like very outside of my comfort zone. Even like doing this right now is very outside my comfort zone. I would naturally be much more introverted and like I would rather just like, hide away in a little office and work by myself. But they're all kind of push me outside my comfort zone to start these social channels and stuff like that. But the longest time I was like scared that my family was gonna find that I had a YouTube channel. Like it was like this like dark secret. I didn't want anyone to know that I had done this. But when they did, inevitably realized that I was posting all these videos online and stuff like that. They were so supportive. Like my family's been amazing. My grandpa sent me an email the other day that he was telling a bunch of people about the game and like got I think a classroom of like 40 students all playing the game and stuff like that. So yeah, my family's been amazing. They've been so supportive. And yeah, I kind of I feel a little bad about being so like nervous to uh, for them to know about it.
I see. And do you feel like it's important to have a supportive surroundings around you if you like want to chase your dreams? Dreams, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, if you if you're like me and you kind of like lack the self-confidence to know that you can just like do this or to think that you're going to do it well,
Okay.
I think having that support network can be extremely helpful in kind of giving you that kind of push that you need. At least it was for me. And of course, like game development is also quite an emotional journey. Like you put a lot of yourself into these
True,
games,
true, true,
take
true.
a long time to make, and it gets quite heavy. Um, oh, it sounds like some people in the chat are saying there's a mic imbalance. Maybe my mic is too loud or yours is too quiet.
I think it's mine.
Um,
Maybe. Yeah, maybe
anyways,
might. Yeah, since I have a noise filter. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I will try to talk louder then. Thank you for that. Yeah.
okay, cool. Um, yeah, and I think it was just like the more help you can get, basically, especially in those days where you're not feeling super confident about it, or you need someone to bounce ideas off of. Having that support network is really, really helpful, whether that's
I see.
friends or
I see.
family or whatever it is.
Okay. Okay. And so, as you mentioned, like you grow as a person from starting your YouTube and TikTok channel. So that's what you answered in forward. My question wanted to be is that like, how do you feel about how have you changed as a person in other territories of your life as from being a game developer yourself? How do you feel about that? You already answered some of the parts of this question, but
Yeah, I mean, like I said, naturally I'm very introverted, and I would shy away from anything like this, where having to talk to someone new or whatever. Not because it's bad, it's just my natural inclination would be to kind of shy away from that. I think working in the game has really pushed me outside my comfort zone in a
I
lot of
see. I see.
ways with social media and all that kind of stuff. And I've kind of adopted a rule of just always saying yes. So if someone messages me to do a podcast or do an interview or to do anything, I'll
It's
always say
like in
yes, just
Yes
because
Man
you never
movies,
know.
right? It's like in Yes Man movies.
Yeah,
Or
exactly. I'm like
movies,
Jim
sorry.
Carrey in the Yes
Yeah.
Man. Yeah, I'm just Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's been a huge shift I've seen in myself over those years,
I
and then I
see.
think yeah, the kind of the confidence to realize that like I can make a game that's worth making. I don't know if that makes a lot of sense, but there's so many games coming out every year. I think last year there was like 14,000. This year we're on track for like 16,000 games on Steam, which is an incredible number. Like it's like 50 to 100 per day. And so that kind of raises the question of like if you're going to make a game, is it worth making? Like, why would someone play that when there's so many other things that they could be doing? And I think throughout making Feral North, I kind of learned the confidence to realize that I can make something that's worth making, that is worth someone's time to invest in and kind of go through the story and leave feeling moved. So I think that's been a huge confidence booster and like a really pleasant surprise.
I see. I see. Yeah, and that makes sense since, like you said, it's very true that so many games are coming out, but as a developer like you and all the other developers, you really have to have this confidence of yours in order to have that
Yeah.
vision go out the Steam page or to PlayStation Store or whenever or whatever platform you release it. Yeah, so it's very important in my opinion. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Okay. Okay, so and also another so more of a personal question. So when like you started this game of yours and you developed the story throughout the developing process of the gameplay aspects of your game as well. So I believe that all of us creators who create our own craft are always willing to have these segments of our life and memories into our craft what we make. So is it true as for you as well? And how do you feel about
Yeah,
it? If yes.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think so for me, like Feral North is a very personal game.
Okay.
There's a lot of fiction in it, like it's not all based on, my experience or anything like that.
I see. I see.
But there is a lot, I would say, of myself in there. And I think putting yourself into a game or something like that, it's quite vulnerable, right? You're putting yourself out there for people to judge you,
True.
and
True. True.
it kind
True.
of becomes a critique on your work starts to feel like a critique on you as a person, which is not a good thing. And so I think for me, like learning to kind of separate myself from my work is something that I need to do a
I
bit
see.
better going forward. I think I kind of with Feral North, it's almost too personal. Where, like I said, like if someone hates the game, it feels like a personal kind of attack, which isn't the case at all. Um, but I think that there's a lot of value in that when you put yourself into your work and let your kind of experience and whatever shine through. I think it does elevate the experience of whatever it is that you're creating. So I think that's important,
I see. I see. Okay. And
and
so,
especially I would say like as a small team or even a solo team,
okay.
that's kind of your strength, right? Like that's something that a big AAA studio can't really do. You might have a creative director or something like that who puts their experience in, but there's so many people working on it that it's going to get muddled a little bit for
True.
better or
True. True.
worse.
True. True. Right. All the
But
ideas
as a
and
small
visions are
team, you
shared,
can,
right? In the big company, but in the
yeah,
smaller, it's not that much of sharing and
yeah,
putting
exactly,
together all the ideas to make only one idea come to life. Yeah.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, exactly. And I think that's really your strength as a small
True.
team.
True. True.
So
True. True.
uh,
True. True.
it's definitely worth doing.
True. True. Okay. Okay. And so, as for this game of yours, have you like planning to add? By the way, I know it's like not that much of the game oriented question. Would be that are you planning like to add the PlayStation version as well? Because I'm a PlayStation guy, so I was wondering if there will be a PlayStation version of the game.
Yeah, I'm a PlayStation guy as well, actually. So I want to see it on PlayStation. It didn't make it for the initial release, and that was just because it was just me doing the ports, and ports are very complicated, and it's
I
my
see.
first
I
time
see.
doing it. Um, so even two felt like it was a stretch. For a long time, it was only going to be Nintendo Switch, and then if we had the time to either add Xbox or PlayStation. It was just we were getting more requests for Xbox,
I
and
see.
that's the
I
only
see. I
reason
see.
that was the choice. There's no legal
I
or
see.
technical or anything preventing PlayStation. I'm shouldn't say this, but I am currently working on the PlayStation port.
Exclusive
It's just
information. Thank you.
it's slow going. We haven't confirmed that it's even gonna for release. I'm trying to make it happen. I'm
Okay.
trying to assess whether it's feasible to do it. Um, and so hopefully, I hope we do, but I don't have a timeline on when that'll be,
I see.
if ever, technically.
I see. Okay, I will fix my mic. Hopefully, it will be louder a bit. Is it by the way better now? Let me know. Let me know if it's better. Is it better? Let me know, please. I'm not sure if it's better, but hopefully. Um, let me make it closer. Sorry for this. It's just I'm not sure.
No
My
worries.
mic is acting sometimes weird. Like not sure why. Okay, so back to the question. So, and as for your game's length, what was your very original goal with the story length of your game? Like when you started developing of this game?
I think my initial goal was probably just to get to 2 hours. Like that,
I see. I see.
that felt like so the thing is for a narrative game with no combat, you don't have any like, fight sequences or anything like that. Each moment essentially has to be unique, right? So
True. True. True.
it's
True.
to create 2 hours
To
of
be able
content, you
to
have to have
pull the
two.
player right into the game.
Yeah, but to create 2 hours of content, you have to create 2 hours of unique
True.
moments.
True.
Whereas,
True.
let's say you have like a shooter or something, you might change up the scenarios, you might change up the environment, but you can get a lot more bang for your buck from the
True. True.
mechanic
True.
of
True.
shooting a gun. So it's easier to build content. So yeah, I think initially my goal was like 2 hours, and then the scope kind of went crazy from there. I think the average player, excuse me, is like 4 to 5 hours to do the main line, and I think about 8 hours to do everything, which is a little longer actually than I thought it was. The first time I gave the game to my publisher to do a full playthrough, they came back with numbers like that, and I was quite surprised. I thought it was shorter than it was, and I think that's just because as a developer, you play it so many times, you kind of like you're basically speed running it every time you go through it. Um, but yeah, I think now we're like 5 to 8 hours, depending on how you play it.
I see. I see. Okay. And so after releasing your game and you gained so much positive response from all the players, how have you felt back then when you saw that your dream actually came true and people love your game and it's really was a good choice to step into making your own game? How do you felt about that?
Yeah, it's been amazing. Like my goal was, and I feel like it sounds empty when I say this, but my goal was literally if we could get like 70% positive on Steam, I thought that that was going to be amazing. Like that would have been a huge success in my mind. The fact that we're at 98%, I never ever in my wildest dreams expected that we'd be at that point. And that's been amazing. And it seems like it's really connected with people. And like I said, like it's kind of given me that confidence of like, okay, I can make a game that's worth making, that's worth playing, and it can actually leave people feeling something. Um, it seems like a lot of people have had quite, you know, intense isn't the right word, but they've been quite moved by it, and that's been amazing. And I've got a lot of DMs from people who, told me quite personal stories about their life and how the games kind of affected them or helped them in a way, and that's been incredible. It's been a really, really cool experience, and I never expected that. I think about a week before release, I was like the most depressed I've ever been, and I really thought the game was going to be a complete flop. Like I didn't think it was good. I wasn't feeling confident in it at all. And then the first couple of reviews came in, and they were like 9, 9, 8, I think, the first three, and I was like, whoa, where did this come from? Like I did not expect that. And then it just kind of kept coming, and I've been kind of waiting. I have like a little alert every time I get a review. I get an alert for it, so I can check it out. And every single alert that comes in, I still have like a little mini panic attack, being like, "Okay, this is the one that's finally going to see it, and they're going to know that it's a fraud, and they're going to know it's terrible." But it hasn't happened, and the review's been amazing. So yeah, it's been an incredible experience.
I see. I see. Okay. And so going back to more personal questions, uh, your game story is like or has a lot of like emotional moments in it. So
Mhm.
how do you feel about? Do you feel like some emotional story segments of your game has been implemented from your own life, from your own memories and experiences? How do you feel about that? If it's a spoiler or if it's like a very personal question, of course, if you don't want to answer, it's fine. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I never know how to answer this without spoilers.
Okay.
But yeah, it is. There is definitely a lot of personal experience that has been kind of brought to it.
I see. I see.
There is a lot of fiction. So just for an example, this isn't quite a spoiler, but the um the kind of opening of the game is this girl kind of or this woman going back to the islands that she grew up in. Obviously, I didn't not obviously, but I didn't grow up in islands. I didn't grow up in Scotland,
I see.
but I did move away from home, and I do know what it feels like to go back and
I see.
the kind of sense of like things changing without you. And so there's a lot of that kind of personal experience that's brought into the game. It's not exactly one to one with my actual life. The mother character, it's introduced very early on that the mother character has passed away, and that's kind of the catalyst for her coming back to these islands. my mom is alive and well, knock on wood, she's doing great and everything. So that's not kind of a personal experience. But I do have a lot of, I've had loss in my life, and there's a lot of that kind of funneled into it. So yeah, it is a fictional story. It's not like an
I
autobiographical
see, I see,
autobiographical story.
I see, I see, I see, I see,
But yeah, I would say there's a lot of me in there.
I see. And when you were also telling us about how players connected throughout the story with your emotions as well, and the message that you wanted to give, in if even if it wasn't like an intentional message giving choice. So how do you feel about that when you read these all of these interviews, that they really resonated with your message and with the story aspect of your game?
I mean, really validating. The so I guess one of the things that I was concerned about is I personally enjoy walking simulators. I enjoy narrative-driven games that don't have combat. I enjoy shooters as well, but I enjoy games that are like very emotional, very deep, and you can sit on the couch and you can just get kind of lost in it.
True, true, true.
But I know that's not for everyone. In Feral North, I wouldn't describe Feral North as a walking simulator, but it's not gameplay heavy either. It
I
is a
see.
narrative-driven game, and so that was a really big question, right? Like, so you're making a narrative-driven game. What makes you qualified to do that? I've never written a book. I don't have any kind of like um, experience to fall back on to say like I'm capable of creating a compelling narrative for people. So I think the fact that it came out, people connected with it, and so many people had like such a deep connection to it. That's just been really validating, right? So it's kind of going back to what I said before of like, okay, so now I know I can make a game that's worth making, and that's a really good feeling that I didn't necessarily have that confidence before.
True, true,
So I
true.
think that's probably the biggest thing.
I see, I see. And it's very interesting that you said that, because I believe that all the greatest stories that have been written, either if it's a book form or a video game form or a movie form, it's always like a personal story, right? So even if like
Yeah,
you are not making the 100% sure story of your life, but you're resonating with all the memories that you had, people can like resonate back to you throughout that story that you have written, and it's a very nice feeling in my opinion. But yeah, like you said,
yeah,
it's scary to like share with the people, since they might not understand or they might not resonate with it, or it's such a crazy word out there right now. So it's like very hard to
yeah,
touch people, when they are running from their problems and then they are trying to hide in their little box, in my opinion at least. But yeah, yeah, it's very
yeah.
nice, and I'm very happy that your game has had success. So and what
Well, thank
about the
you.
future? So how do you feel about your future plans and game ideas? Do you feel like you would go down the road with this type of games, or would you like go into some other forms of games or genres of games, if you would like to develop
Yeah,
further more games in the future?
yeah. I mean that's really the big question I'm facing right now is do I double down on what I've learned and do I try to, make another, personal, small, narrative-driven game, or do I go with something that's maybe a little bit more widespread appeal, like more, I don't know, a sandbox game or an action game or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um, and yeah, that's kind of the question I'm grappling with right now. And there's a lot of factors, right? Like I still really really enjoy playing that kind of game. Like over the last few weeks, I've been playing games for the first time in a little while because I just didn't have much time for the last year. I just replayed What Remains of Edith Finch. It's amazing, even the second time through. I played The Vanishing Ethan Carter for the first time. So it's a lot of games that are like still in that kind of narrative-driven walking simulator kind of experiential games, and those are really what draw me the most. Um, and yeah, so I'm trying to figure that out. I don't really have the answer yet. I'm trying to figure out what the next thing's going to be. I can say I've started prototyping a few ideas. Some of them are very, very different from one another. Some of them are more sandboxy, some of them are more actiony, and some of them are more narrative driven. I'm just trying to see what feels right, and yeah,
I see,
but
I
I
see.
don't know. It's a tough choice. It's a big commitment, and I think once you've done it once, it's almost a bigger commitment the second time because you kind of know what you're
True,
getting
true,
yourself
true,
into now,
true, true,
right? Like
true,
you know that this is a multi-year decision that you're making, and
true, true,
it's almost daunting.
true. By the way, do you think like having confidence or achieving confidence by good results can change the way how you develop games, and also how you attend to your vision? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean,
Because you told
you
us
learn
that
so much.
it's like a decision, right, to make more appealing games for more people, or stick to your vision, and that's what you learn from this game to develop even a better game in that vision. Like that's why I asked this
Yeah,
question.
yeah. I mean, you learn so much from releasing one game, whether it succeeds or not. You learn a
True,
lot.
true, true, true.
So that definitely carries into the next project. But in terms of the question, I mean, yeah, I think so. I, I can say like Feral North was very successful in the kind of response side. It seems like it really connected with people. It was a huge resounding success on that side. On the financial side, a little bit more of a mixed bag. It is successful. It will kind of break even, but it won't necessarily like give a huge margin of error for the next project. Like it kind of barely funds the next game. Um, and yeah, so that's also kind of a consideration too, right? So if I continue down the narrative route, I might be able to make better and better games
I
in
see,
that
I see.
genre. But I think that that genre is a little bit more limited. And in terms of making this a sustainable, business, at the end of the day, making games is a business. Um, that's a bit more kind of a tricky, I think. Whereas you can make games that are maybe have more mass appeal, hopefully still a game that you like really enjoy making and you still believe in and everything. But maybe that gives you a little bit less stress and a little bit more room to breathe would be nice as well. So yeah, I don't know. I think there's an amazing like Venn diagram that goes around from time to time, and it's like one of the circles is games that people want to play, one of them is games you want to make, and one of them is games you can make. And there's a very small overlap there, right? And so I think it's finding that kind of like sweet spot of
Balance,
something that
yeah,
you can be
sweet
passionate
spot,
about,
yeah.
something you want to make, but also something that like there is, a sustainable
True,
appetite
true,
for.
true, true,
Um,
true. Yeah, it's
so
really
yeah, it's
hard.
yeah, and it sucks too because it kind of feels like you're selling out if you're like
True,
thinking
true,
about that
true. That's
stuff.
what I wanted to say. Like, you cannot
But
forget as a developer to have that money income, right? Because it's not like you're
yeah,
working for free. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. At the end of the day, I got to eat, and
True, true, true,
yeah,
true.
life is expensive. So
True, true, true,
yeah, it's something you
true.
got to think about.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. It's hard. It's hard. Yeah. Okay. Okay. And so you mentioned like all those ideas that like you already had for your future projects, but if it would be like not for earning money for your game, but just stick to your vision, like would you like always make these kind of story heavy games? Like would it be that road that you wanted to make or
yeah,
to continue? I see, I see, I see, I see.
I think so. Yeah, I think at my heart, my favorite thing to do is creating worlds to tell stories within. Um, I don't think I'm like a good game designer. I don't think I could like do an action game because I just don't have the right mindset for that. But I think I can tell stories.
True,
I
true,
think
true,
that's what I really enjoy
true.
doing. So yeah, that's where my mind is always at. Like I've been thinking a little bit about even if I would make a game that's going to be like more actiony or sandboxy or something like that, I don't think I could help myself. I think it would still have a
Yeah, that's
story
what I
element
wanted to
to it.
say. Yeah, that it would be a
Yeah,
story heavy
yeah,
game too. Like, yeah, just in
yeah.
other
I think so
with
because
other
it's
gameplay
just
segments.
that's
Yeah.
that's what I get enjoyment out of in terms of creating and consuming, like
True, true,
playing.
true, true.
So I don't think I would get away from that.
I see, I see.
Even like every time like I'm bouncing ideas off of someone and I'm saying like, oh, it'd be cool to have this like sandbox thing with building and blah 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 blah. And then like a minute later I'm like, oh, then there could be a story and this could happen and this could and it's like,
Like put into a
is that
little
the most
box,
important thing?
right? To have that
Yeah,
story
yeah.
segment in the bigger, wider box. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's
Nice.
just where my mind goes and it's what I really enjoy. So I don't think I'll get away from that.
Nice, 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 nice. Okay, okay. So, and what about, by the way, the music? Have you made or composed the music yourself for your game?
No, that is one thing I cannot do.
Okay, okay.
I love music, but I do not understand like music theory.
I see,
I just don't even have the basics there.
I see.
So I partnered with a couple people. John Konsolakis was the composer. He was the first person who joined the project and worked with me for almost 4 years, from when the game was like basically gray boxes. He had an amazing vision. He's extremely talented, and yeah, he understood the game like very intimately. He knows it. I would say second only to me. The emotion of every little moment. And yeah, so he composed it. The music's been one of the highest rated things. Like he really smashed it out of the park. I always say like if you're not into the game, at least check out the soundtrack because it's really really amazing. Um, they've also partnered with Siobhan Miller, who's a really acclaimed Scottish folk singer. So the name Farewell North comes from a song from the 1700s called Farewell, or sorry, called My Heart's in the Highlands. And in that song, there's a line that says Farewell to the Highlands, farewell to the North, and that's where the name comes from. And so we wanted to pay homage to that song, and the song plays a really important part through the game. Like it exists in the world, and the characters know that song, and excuse me, it has meaning to them. So we reached out to Siobhan. It was like a moonshot idea. We didn't think we'd actually hear back, but she called me back like that night, and she moved her schedule around to make it work. And yeah, I'm so happy we did. It was like one of my favorite days of working on the whole project was when we got into a studio in Glasgow with her and recorded that. It was really really cool. So yeah, the music has been so well received. I'm really it's one thing I feel like I can really brag about. I had nothing to do with it, but John and Siobhan really really nailed it.
I see. I see. And by the way, do you believe in perfect synergy between people who are working on a game? Speaking of those people that you have mentioned that did a great job of composing the music and you really could resonate with their work.
Yeah, I think there's something really special that happens when you have a collaborator who kind of puts themselves fully into the project
I see.
and takes the time to like really understand all the nuance of it and wants to know like every little thing about it. Even it's like, John was a composer, but again, I also gave him an additional writing credit because he came on so early that he was really influential in shaping a lot of the cutscenes and cinematography and the writing and the story. And he did a lot more than just compose music.
I see.
And yeah, that was a really kind of special collaboration. I really enjoyed that. I think that's kind of the perfect scenario. It doesn't always go that way, but I think when it does, it's really special.
True, 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 true. Okay, okay. You were talking about like some of your favorite moments throughout developing your own game, but so what about the negative part of developing process? So do you feel like you had some things that you had to cut out from your game and it like was very sad moments for you throughout the development process? How do you feel about that?
Um, yeah, I mean, there were things that didn't make the cut. I think I mean, there are times where you kind of like you feel pretty gutted, like you had an idea, maybe you started implementing it, and it's just not really kind of jiving, and you realize it's not a good fit, and you have to let it go.
I see, I see.
I didn't have any I don't think there was any content that was cut because of like time constraints or anything like that. We went way over schedule, so that wasn't a limiting factor. Um, so I think everything that got cut was kind of justified and it felt right. Maybe not in the moment, like by the next day, looking back, you're like, yeah, that was, I feel better. I know that that was a good decision to get cut. And then I think when it got down to like the last couple months, it was such a stressful time period and I was quite depressed and it was just like, 7 days a week, 16 hours a day, some all nighters, just trying to like get everything in. At that point, it was just like cutting something meant that I had probably had a better idea. So like something was only getting cut because there was a permanent replacement. So it felt like progress. So it was kind of quite satisfying to cut things. Um, yeah, I don't think anything got cut for any reason other than it wasn't the right fit. So that was nice. Working for like a studio, having more of a strict time crunch or sorry, strict schedule, sure that would happen and that would feel pretty bad. But thankfully, in this case, it wasn't the case.
I see, I see, I see. And so you mentioned the depressing parts of sometimes of your development process, but what do you feel like was the hardest part of your development process of making your own game?
Um, yeah, the final few months I think were
Okay,
really really tough. Like people talk about crunch, and like I've worked with a lot of startups, and that is kind of a thing. But I think it's a combination of the crunch plus putting yourself so much, like attaching your self worth so much to the project, like subconsciously. That kind of combination is really really quite bad for your mental health, and that's something I kind of learned too late. So the last few months was like it got dark, and my wife was like pretty kind of worried, and it was just kind of like a dark time. And thankfully, I'm a lot better now, even just like a month and a half after release. Like, I feel like I've been able to kind of step away from the game, like literally close my laptop a few times and just like go out of the city for a few days and kind of get away. And that's done wonders. But for the last couple months, it was that combination of crunch and tying your personal self worth and not knowing if it was going to succeed, like financially or critically, and just all that self doubt that kind of creeps in, and even a little thing like you post something on TikTok and like it doesn't do well, or you know what I mean. And it's like it's such a stupid thing to care about, but when you're in the moment and you're so like invested in that time period, it's like every little thing just feels like such a critical failure.
True, true, true,
Uh,
true, true. And like you
and
want
it,
to
you just
invest
like
even more to have success, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and you kind of blow things out of proportion, you get in your head, and like
true,
you kind of spiral a little bit. And
true, true, true.
yeah, so it was a excuse me, it was a tough time. And I think a lot of the lessons I learned going into the next project are going to be about that, about like not overscoping, not putting so much of your self worth into it, kind of stepping away from the game, kind of limiting your kind of like attachment to it. Like
I see,
the game's not like your baby, you know what I mean? It's kind of separating yourself a little bit from it. I think that's gonna be important.
I see, I see. Was did you find hard, by the way, to balance your time for that you have for your family and also like for your making of your own game?
Yeah, I mean, I think the answer is I didn't really balance. It was just the game. Like, my wife and I think would go out once a week to go grocery shopping, but other than that, I was like just working, um, from waking up to going to bed every day. Thankfully, my wife was super supportive. She, we'd stop and have dinner together and stuff like that. She understood, but it was tough. Like, it wasn't really fair for her.
True, true, true.
It was hard for me, but it wasn't fair for her. And yeah, I just don't want to do that again. So I think kind of finding ways to have a better balance going forward is going to be important. I think for Feral North, it was kind of like it was just kind of too late. The game was too big. It was overscoped. Had to go out. You know what I mean? Like we had to get it done,
True,
and that
true,
was
true.
kind of the
Like
end
you
of
had
it.
to finish. Yeah.
Um, yeah, exactly. And I'm really proud of like how it shaped up and how it came together. And like I said, the response has been way better than I ever imagined. But I don't know if it was necessarily worth all the kind of sacrifices for
True, true,
the
true,
last 6 months especially were just
true, true.
like I just worked. That was it.
Understandable. Yeah, yeah. That's the hard decision, right? To have that
Yeah,
like sacrifice that you have mentioned. Yeah. Okay,
yeah.
so going back that you have mentioned us that you love playing video games as yourself as well. So
Mhm.
do you feel like your perspective has changed as from being a game developer yourself when you play video games? As just a
Yeah,
player, of
totally.
course. Okay, and how? And how?
Yeah, I mean, I think you. So I would say early on, in the first few years as I started to make games, and especially as I got a little bit more serious with it, when I was playing a game, I would be very like critical, not necessarily like, judging the game, but in terms of like trying to figure out how they did things. So I'd be like, I don't know, you're playing like Uncharted or something. I remember a specific scene in Uncharted where I just like stood in this room and I was like looking at the walls and I was moving the camera and trying to like figure out how this like texture mapping thing that they had done was actually working. And you're just like thinking about these things, I could use that, I could do this, then I could improve this thing, blah blah blah. Or maybe like you see something and you're like, oh, I think actually I could do this better. I think they maybe missed an opportunity here or there or whatever. And then later, excuse me, um, especially after finishing Feral North, like the last few weeks that I'm playing games, I'm just like kind of reverting back to like being a kid again and like just soaking it all in and enjoying and like really immersing myself in the game and like trying not to think about that stuff. Um, I think there's a time and place, and I think when I start production again on like the next project, I'll probably go back to that like more analytical, critical kind of tinkering around. But right now, I'm trying to just like be a kid and like just enjoy games for like what they are. So it kind of bounces back and forth, I would say.
I see. I see. I see. Okay, so before I ask more questions and before we go into questions from my community and from the chat, so do you feel like you really found yourself by making your own game and also like in the future you will be making your own games? Do you feel like you are really went back to your childhood life and you're living all those memories of playing games as a kid by making games?
Yeah, yeah, totally. I think making games is something really special. It's hard and it takes a lot out of you, but it is really rewarding at the same time. And it's definitely something that I feel like basically what you said, I feel like I've kind of found myself in that process, right? So yeah, that's 100%. That's what I want to do, and it's just a matter of can I make this sustainable and actually get to do this. Even the days that are like really hard, at the end of the day, you're making something, and you're that whole act of creation is just really
True, true,
special.
true, true, true.
So yeah, definitely something to continue to hopefully get to continue to do going forward.
I see. Yeah, like it's really more than a job, right? So it's like it's more important for
Yeah,
people to make their own craft and put out there and resonate with people than just go 9 to 5 and work for other companies. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, exactly. I think it's a very special feeling to
True, true,
put
true,
yourself into something, put it out there, and have people appreciate it, connect with it, and
true.
um, yeah, for someone who's quite introverted like myself, it's just been a really interesting way to connect with people in a way that it didn't really expect.
I see. I see. By the way, so getting to a more personal question again, so do you feel like it was very hard for you to open up and not being introverted that you talked about? Like, was it hard when it first, like, really, like, you understood that, okay, I need to be more opened up to all these requests? Because you mentioned that you would say yes to everything, but was it hard when you first started doing this?
Yeah, and it's gotten a lot easier. Like I've kind of gotten way more comfortable with it. Um, so like when I first started posting on like YouTube and TikTok and stuff like that, that was really stepping out of my comfort zone. Like I
I
was
see.
very
I see. I see.
nervous about that and doing interviews and podcasts and stuff. Over time, it's gotten a lot easier. I enjoy it a lot more than I used to. Having fun right now. This is a great conversation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Um, so yeah, now it's not such a thing. Like it's
I see.
just
I see.
I'm excited when these opportunities come up. It's not like an obligation. It used to be more an
I
obligation.
see.
And I think
I
I've
see.
just kind of gotten more comfortable with it and with YouTube and stuff. Like I enjoy the process of creating videos now, and I still get like weird butterflies. I get more nervous posting a YouTube video than I did releasing the game for some reason every single time. But yeah, I don't know what that is. It's like a 15-minute window, like right before the video goes out. I'm like shaking and like I don't know why. Um, but yeah, I think yeah, that's like the biggest growth I've seen in myself in that kind of time frame, and it's been very welcome. I've enjoyed that change.
I see. I see. And are you happy with the decision that you made that you really stepped out from your comfort zone, by the way?
100%. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
Okay.
Like for example, so aside from like kind of like online stuff, I've also done some in-person events. Went to Gamescom,
I see. I see.
where I was at like Indie Arena booth, which is like a crazy, 100,000 people kind of coming through your area and talking to you and stuff like that. That was a crazy experience, but it was a lot of fun. So a lot of things like that I probably would have said no to a few years ago. But they've been a blast, and it's been a cool way to get out there and meet people and show off the game, and even travel a little bit, go to Cologne, Germany, and stuff like that.
True. 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 Okay. By the way, I missed you somehow at Gamescom because I was at Gamescom too, but I did not meet you.
This was 2022. I haven't been back, fortunately,
Oh,
but in
okay, okay. So
2022 I
it
was
was
there.
2 years ago. Okay, okay, yeah. I was
Yeah,
at this
yeah,
year
yeah,
and last year. Okay, so that's why. Okay, yeah, yeah. Okay, okay.
yeah. Farewell North was there, but unfortunately I wasn't.
Oh, I see, I see, I see. Okay, okay, that makes sense now.
Yeah, of
Okay, are you down to answer some questions from the chat and the community?
course. Yeah,
Nice,
let's
nice,
do it.
nice, 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 nice. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions, let us know. Hölgyek, urak, hogyha bármi kérdés van, akkor nyugodtan kérdezzetek. If you have any questions, please let us know. I will bigger up the chat for me so I can see the questions. Okay, Minnie, it seems, has a question. So Minnie is saying that she checked out the game's Steam page, and your game is very calm, very like beautiful, and also like, if it's the right word, like very clean, but like soul clean, like very nice and calm and clean,
Hmm.
and also like the warmth of the soul. Uh, and she's saying that she was crying when she like saw your game Steam page and the trailer of your game. Uh,
I'm sorry.
she's saying that she doesn't have any questions because for her like it's a perfect game, for
Thank
sure.
you.
And oh, okay, she's going home now from work. Okay, that's why she's not asking any questions. Okay, okay, okay. Thank you for
Oh,
that.
well, hopefully if she's still here or watches this later, thank you. That was really kind of you to say.
Yeah, thank you for that. for both of you. Okay, so any more questions? Bármilyen kérdés, hölgyek, urak? Bármilyen kérdés, hölgyek, urak?
Come on, hit me with some questions.
Let us know, let us know. Hölgyek, urak, bármilyen kérdés? Let us know. By the way, so when we were talking about like your future plans and games that you would like to make, so around what time we will be able to see a new game from you, if you could like uh, say something or tell us something about that? Like what's the plan for that, or like it's still very early to talk about that for you? Do you feel like that?
Yeah, it's definitely too early to get specific. I don't
Okay,
even know what the game's going to be yet.
I see.
Like I said, I'm kind of prototyping a few ideas. Just kind of seeing what feels right. I
I
think
see.
most likely what'll happen is right now the kind of most important thing is like having a big announcement, a big splash on the kind of day that you announce the game. I think having a demo at that time is really helpful as well. But it's obviously going to take a while to get to that point where I have a demo that's polished, that's playable,
I
that
see.
is representative of
Sorry.
some larger game. So unfortunately, it probably won't be for like a year that I get to announce anything
I see.
at the earliest. What I probably will do is along the way post some like just little teasers or technical behind the scenes stuff on like Twitter or YouTube or whatever, without getting too specific on what the game actually is, just so we can save that big announcement and kind of hopefully make a big splash when I do announce. Yeah, I'm hoping to over the next month or so kind of have a better idea of what the next project looks like and yeah, but right now I really don't know. I'm still trying to figure that out.
I see. I see. Okay. So a question
Actually, one
about.
thing I will say
No, no.
too.
It's sorry, sorry. Go for that. Go for that.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'll answer the question after. Feral North took 4 years to make, and I really don't want to do another 4 year development cycle. It's just too long, and there's too many game ideas that I'd love to make. And if you think about the length of your life, you can only make so many games. So hopefully it'll be something not necessarily shorter in terms of gameplay, but hopefully like learning so much from Feral North, the development process will be shorter, and I can hopefully make something a bit quicker. Um, so that's a goal. Try to get that down to like 2 years, maybe 2.5 years. I think would be like a really good sweet spot.
I see. I see. Okay. 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 Oh, okay. Gergo just typing down a question. Okay. 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 So and what I wanted to say, ask you from is that like what would be like the ultimate message of your game that you always like wanted to share with the players? Like if there is a message, of course. Like what people could
Um,
resonate with, or what they should like understand if they like play through the story.
there's a few things. I'm trying to think which I can say without spoiling. I think the main kind of core premise of the game is it's all about empathy.
I see.
So color in Feral North represents the human character's emotional state, but we don't play as the human character. We're playing as the dog. And it's kind of an exploration of like how pets can influence our mental health, how they can
I
be
see.
such a boon to us. But it's also if we take away the pet human relationship, it just as a player, I'm hoping you walk away with a bit of a better understanding of empathy and how you can kind of like, just the little things can make a huge difference in other people's lives. Um, there's also, I can't really talk about the other thing because it really is a spoiler of like the very ending of the game, but um, just you know, a sense of kind of like a connection to people and places and pets and, all of that and how important those things can be.
I see. I see. And talking about this, do you think like this mindset of yours, that like empathy and like connections between people and between pets and people, was always like important for you, or was it something that you have developed throughout your life from an early stage of your life? How do you feel about that?
I think a little bit of both. Like a lot of
Okay.
that is kind of. going back to being shaped by kind of personal experience and kind of putting
Okay.
myself into it. The relationship I've had with family and pets and,
I
and,
see.
and
I
all of
see.
that growing up, moving away from the place I grew up, still loving that place, but not living there anymore and that kind of connection. So a lot of that is inspired by like my personal kind of experience. Um, and yeah, some of those came like quite early in my life. So yeah, I would kind of say both.
I see. I see. And have you like revisited those places when where you were a kid?
Yeah,
By the way, after you like or when you like started making your game?
yeah. Actually, I was just back home in Canada a couple of weeks ago visiting family, and
Nice. Nice.
it's
Nice.
yeah, it's a really cool experience where it's a not cool experience. It's a very unique experience when you go back to a place that is kind of like you haven't been there in a few years, and you have a picture of it in your head and a sense of like a feeling of that place, and it's always different. Not necessarily in a good way or a bad way. It's just different. And it's quite a unique feeling that I think anyone who's kind of moved away from home can kind of resonate
True.
with.
True. True. True.
Um, Even if that's just like going back to your childhood bedroom, there's
True.
just a
True.
strange
Some special feeling,
sense of
right?
like
Yeah.
exactly, yeah, and it's kind of the game has a lot of exploration of that, and in ways that I think even in the game mechanics, kind of representing that, I think are kind of interesting. Um, so yeah, I think that's something that people can kind of connect with.
I see. I see. Do you feel like what you were talking about, like it also like shaped your mentality a bit for appreciation of empathy and like connections? Do you feel like your game also like could encourage you to like really go back to those past places that you have been grown up and as was a kid, like since you really understood that like our time at this world is limited and we have to like appreciate those places and those people around us?
Yeah, totally, totally. I think um, it, so I moved to Scotland from Canada. It was kind of the biggest move in my life. I moved to that just before the pandemic, as I was saying, and then immediately after that, I started working on this
I see. I
game.
see.
And so I couldn't go back to Canada for a few years until the pandemic was over and the lockdowns were lifted and all that. And I think it was like 2 or 3 years that I hadn't been back home, and a whole pandemic had passed, and the world changed so much. Like if you think back to 2019, it feels like a totally different world that we lived in, right?
True. True. True.
I don't know if that's all the pandemic, but it just seems like so much has changed in the
True,
last few
true,
years.
true, true.
And so, yeah, going back to Canada was a really surreal experience, and that kind of like fed into the mechanic and that whole idea kind of it already kind of existed in the game, but it became so much stronger after that trip back home. Um, and then finished the game, and then just went back to Canada again for the second time after that. And so it was kind of like a whole gone kind of full circle now with that mechanic and that experience and feeling of it and everything. And yeah, I think maybe the second time I was a little bit better prepared for what that was going to be like.
I see.
Um, and again, it's not like it's a good or a bad thing. It's just different,
True,
and
true,
it's
true.
quite a surreal experience.
I see. I see.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Thank you. And thank you for your honesty, by the way. I hope that you did not mind my personal questions. Thank you.
No, 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 fire away. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, question. Okay, let me read first. Okay, so Gergovich asking is like, did you always like stick to this vision and idea of your game, or was there like another idea of your game or of your very first game that you wanted to make, and it developed out to like or changed, transitioned to this game of yours as an idea?
Yeah, actually, this is a good question. So Feral North started, believe it or not, as just a little weekend project. It was supposed to be a 2 day project. Somehow that turned into 4 years, but it was supposed to be a 2 day project, and it was actually about a Chihuahua trying to find the comfiest seat in the house. So it was a little like 3D platformer where you play this little Chihuahua and you're running around the house and you're trying to find the comfiest seat. And somehow that grew and grew and changed and shifted and became Feral North. But um, it happened quite early. So that little weekend project stretched into a few days to a week or so, and then I wanted to add like an emotional side to it because I just can't help myself. I always want to go into that story direction. So I started working on a little story for it, and it kind of felt sad and had to do with like being disconnected from their human, and then I added a human character, and it just kind of like evolved. And by a few months in, it was very clear like Feral North is going in the direction that it did end up going. But yeah, believe it or not, it did start as a little like low poly Chihuahua game that was very bright and colorful and just like super silly. And slight spoiler, but we did end up like actually putting the game as a playable Easter egg in the game, so you can actually find that
Oh,
little Comfy
nice.
Boy Chihuahua game, and you can play it inside Barrel North if you search around a little bit.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for the question, by the way, and the answer as well. Thank you. Okay, let me read it. Oh, and yeah, and Gergich is saying that the graphics of Farewell North is also like very beautiful, and for him it's like very unique. Like he hasn't seen anything like this before. He's
Oh
saying that
wow.
the graphics like has it's like very clean colors, and you have this like transition from all the one color to another. Like he's
Mhm.
mentioning like there's like a grass and it's transitioning into very like nice green and clean green color. Um, okay, but it's not a question. Okay.
I'd be more than happy to talk about the art style a little bit if you like, or
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm
but
down. I'm down. I'm totally
um,
down. Yeah.
cool. Well, first of all, thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah, so that whole color mechanic, I said bit earlier on, but essentially it's as the dog, it's kind of how we see her kind of emotional state. So if she's happy, we're seeing bursts of color, and if she's depressed or feeling anxious or fearful or anything like that, the world gets darker and darker. And so we're kind of like always trying to bring color back to her world by finding ways to, help her work through what she's going through as we go through the story. And then in terms of like the actual like art direction, the I wanted to go with like very almost like surreal art for the kind of more natural environments, so the animals and the vegetation, everything like that. I wanted it to be kind of like this idyllic kind of how do you describe it? Like essentially, we learn pretty early in the game that the woman lives in the city, just kind of coming back to the islands, hasn't been here in a while, and so it's kind of like that idea of like the picture of her head in her head of it being like
I see.
so beautiful being in nature and having it look kind of more vibrant than it
I
actually
see.
is.
I see. I
And
see.
that's why the colors are kind of flatter and more saturated and brighter. So really kind of emphasize her love of nature.
I see. I see. Thank you. Thank you for that for both of you. Thank you. Okay, let us know if there is any more question or any comments. Hölgyek, urak, bármilyen más kérdés? Any more questions? Let us know. 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 Let me watch back the chat if there was anything that I have might missed. Bármilyen más kérdés, hölgyek, urak? Any more questions? No, I did not miss anything. Bármilyen más kérdés? Gergovic is saying that he has not any more questions, but for him, your game is great and he just can say good things about that. Thank you for
Thank you so
that.
much.
Thank you. Anyone? Any more questions? By the way, do you have any pets at home?
I do.
Oh,
Yeah, I
okay.
have two. I have two dogs. Yeah,
Oh, okay. Nice, nice, nice,
yeah.
nice.
They were my two little coworkers as I was working on the game.
I see, I see. And when like you were developing your game, how? So what was the idea of like for those people who might not have pets? So as you mentioned, like the game is not just the connection between pets and humans. It's understandable. Like it's more
Hmm.
heavy emotions about our life and connections. But so what was the idea or thoughts of those people who play this game of yours who might not have pets? Like I know, of course, that they can
Um.
understand. Like for example, for me, I have allergy for pets, and
Mm.
but I still could understand the story of your game, of course. But do you think like that there could be like people who might not have been resonated that much of the story because of that gameplay aspect that there is a dog and a woman in the game? Like, how do you feel about that?
I think it would like if you were kind of like averse to pets, like if you didn't like dogs, I'm sure that would have a
I see,
negative
I see,
impact
I
on your
see, I see, I
experience.
see.
But I think, like I said, I think the game is all about empathy, and I
True,
think
true, true,
the kind of pet human relationship is there to serve as the kind of like conduit for that.
true,
But I don't think you necessarily need to be a dog person or something to kind
true,
of
true,
like
true.
get it. It might not all land. Like there is some like playing fetch and like doing very dog specific activities that probably wouldn't land for you if like that's not your thing. Um, but again, I think as long as you like can appreciate the relationship of a pet and their human, I don't think that that's necessarily an issue. It would just be if you're like actually averse to pets. I'm sure it probably wouldn't be the game for you.
True, 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 true. No, I just asked this because I feel like I saw some reviews not about your game but about other games that have like pets in their game, and pets were used like to tell a story. Like some people like misunderstood the story. So the
Mhm.
important like story message of the game. Like sometimes they could like understand it like it's just about like pets and the connections. Like for example, there is the game called Copycat, if you know about that game as well.
Yep.
Yeah, and I
Yep.
and I read some reviews about the game which were like very interesting to me because the person like loved the game, but they were like just talking about the relationship between the cat and the person who had that cat at their home as a pet. So it was like very weird for me, like not saying anything by them about the other segments of the story, for which, for example, for me, I think they were like those segments of the story were like also more important for others as well, like as a human being, what I want to say
Mhm.
is that like it's very weird sometimes that like people just see one box, out of the wider box of or one circle out of the wider circle of the story. So for me that's very weird, for example.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, we watch movies and stuff like if you think sci-fi or fantasy, excuse me, where there's quite a logical leap to go from yourself to resonating with
True,
like
true. It's
a
understandable. No, no, I'm not judging
you
those
know what I
those
mean?
people who are not like not understanding those smaller might for them it might be smaller elements of the story, but it's like I feel like it's like if any game would have a cover art where there is like for example I don't know a lion or and
Mm.
his holder, or for example there's a monkey and his holder as a pet, then the people might resonate with like those characters right first, which is understandable of course because they are the main protagonists of the storytelling part. But I feel like sometimes that's what like it's a wall that protects the understanding of the story, right? And it's weird that people are like not trying to go through that wall sometimes and then just seeing the wider picture but not going deep into that story that might have like secret messages like we
Yeah.
were talking about. And for me it's like very weird because like I'm always loving to dig into these stories very deeply and not just uh, like I said about the cover art symbol of my
Yeah.
mind. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think what I was gonna say was basically like I think we're pretty good at finding like humanity in non-human characters. We can kind of find a way to connect with those and and,
True, true,
and use
true.
those in storytelling and have audiences connect with them. And I think there's a spectrum, right? For some people that's easier, and some people
True,
it's
true, true,
more surface level. And I think
true,
that's fine too.
true, true.
Um, yeah, I'm sure if enough people play Feral North, there will be people who don't really connect with it and don't really have that like uh, connection with their pet or something like that. But um, I think as long as you can kind of like just get into the feel of the characters and kind of like understand their relationship, even if you don't have that relationship necessarily with your pet or don't have a pet at all, then I think you should be fine.
True, true. Okay, okay. Yeah, and don't get me wrong. Like I wasn't judging those people who might not understanding any
No,
stories
no,
or
no, not at
something. It's
all.
just
Yeah.
like for me, it's weird because like I always lying to like yourself as well. Like you mentioned, you love to dig deep into story-heavy games, and for me, it's also like very important to understand the creator's message and the creator's thoughts, that ideas that he had like
Mhm.
throughout playing these story-oriented games. Yeah. Okay. Okay, any more questions? Bármilyen más kérdés? Bármilyen más kérdés? Any more questions? Any more questions? Any more questions? Let us know. Let us know. Any more questions? Let me know. Please let me know. Any more questions? Bármilyen más kérdés? If you would have, if you would have to name, by the way, some of your recent favorite games, what would be
Mm.
those games?
I just played a game that I think is from 2014 called Murdered Soul Suspect.
Okay, yeah,
I'm not
I
sure
know
if
that.
you're
I know
familiar with
that.
it.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I know that game wasn't very well received.
No, it wasn't. But for me, it was a great game. Like I think it
I
was.
loved it. I
Yeah,
really, really
it
loved
had
it.
it had a great
It was,
story.
yeah, it was a little campy. Like it's like a kind of B movie, like, a
True, true,
90s
true,
or
true,
early
true.
2000s kind of movie, but I loved it. I thought it was a blast. I really enjoyed it. And I thought, um, I've been kind of looking for another game kind of like that since playing it. That was a lot of fun. But trying to think of like more recent
By
games.
the way, Lovecraft games had
Um,
similar vibes to that game, in my opinion. Lovecraft
what's
themed
that? Sorry.
games, like Lovecraft themed games, had like similar vibes to that game,
Uh,
in my opinion.
any recommendations in particular?
I have some, so I will write a bigger list for you
Cool.
after our
Perfect.
interview. Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah.
Yeah, I've been building a list of games I want to check out because I haven't been able to play for so long
Okay,
until I had finished Feral North. So I want to check out Alan Wake 2, Hellblade 2.
nice.
Um, yeah, quite a few games that I'm looking forward to checking out. But I feel like there's a game I'm not thinking of that I had just played. Uh, what was it? Still Weeks the Deep.
Oh, okay,
That
okay,
was
okay,
a good
okay,
one
okay.
too.
Nice,
Another kind of, again, basically a walking simulator, but I really enjoy those. Very narrative driven. I thought the voice acting on that was brilliant. And love seeing more games set in Scotland. So that was another good one.
nice, 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 nice. Okay, okay. Any more questions, ladies and gentlemen? Any more questions? Bármilyen más kérdés? Any more questions? It seems that people lurking right now. Okay, so and is there, by the
Fair
way,
enough.
anything that we haven't touched and you would like to talk about? How do you feel about that?
Um, no, I mean, I think we've touched on quite a bit. No, I can't really think of anything else.
Okay, okay. So what about the future, by the way? So do you feel like it is like your way of your life, like you will be like forever making games, or like is would that be a time when you would say for yourself that okay, I would like to make a step back and stop here? Like how do you feel about that?
No, I think I'll always be making games for sure. I
Okay,
don't think I
okay,
would ever stop.
okay.
The only question would be whether I'm doing it full time
I
or
see, I
as a
see.
hobby. Um, like I said, I think Feral North, it looks like it's done well enough. I'll get to do another a project full time. But with how long it takes to make games and how thin the margins are and how tight the market is, it's one miss and I think it's kind of game over and you know what I mean. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I guess kind of fingers crossed to get to do another one. Hopefully that does just well enough that I can do a third one and just kind of keep that ball rolling. But that's also quite stressful. So I think there is a little bit of appeal about going back to like a regular kind of salary. You know what I mean? Um, but for now, anyways, for the foreseeable future, the goal is to continue making games.
I see, I see. Okay, okay. And so what would be your like advice for those who would like step into making of their own games?
Um, I mean, there's a lot of stuff. There's tons of things I could say on the technical side. Kind of
Okay.
keep the game small, kind of really tightly focus on the scope of it. Make sure. It's like, the kind of like bar is so high now. There's so many games coming out. You really have to like find a way to stand out, and it's not always easy to do. I see a lot of people will um, kind of, they'll have a favorite game and they'll want to make a game just like that. So like, let's say Hollow Knight, for example. So they'll want to make their own version of Hollow Knight. But then you have to kind of ask yourself, well, why would someone play this instead of just playing Hollow Knight? So you have
True,
to
true,
kind of find
true,
a way to
true,
differentiate yourself,
true,
right?
true. Yeah.
And that's kind of tricky to do. Um, and it's a really tough business. You can kind of like, put everything into a game and um, make something really special, and it just doesn't quite land. Like there's a lot of factors. So it's a tough business. So yeah, I think you have to do it for the right reasons. I definitely don't think it's like a way to get rich or anything. You'll see, some huge successes, but those are really kind of like lottery tickets. You know what I mean?
They
Like
might
it's
not
it's
even want
not
it to have success, right? They were just pouring their
potentially, yeah,
inner self into the game, and it's ended up being a success, right? So, like, it wasn't
potentially,
for
yeah,
sure planned. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, but I mean, I think if you start making games as a hobby and you find kind of the itch and you really want to continue doing that, 100% keep going for it. Maybe don't quit your job just yet, but yeah, go for it. It's super rewarding. There's nothing better than kind of creating worlds and creating the rules that by which like these characters within the world interact and live by, and kind of crafting stories or crafting gameplay. It's a really, really rewarding experience. So I definitely recommend it if it seems like something that's interesting to you. But it is also, like I said, it's just a tough business. So if you're thinking about it as like a career, just do some research and kind of you know understand that the expectations, I guess, are kind of tricky at times.
I see. I see. So one thing that I have not touched as a question. So how do you feel about the business part of making games and the marketing part about making games?
It's tough. It's a really, really competitive market. Like I said, like I think we're at something like 50 to 100 games coming out every day. And there's only so much store space and so much visibility that each of those games can get. So you really have to like kind of set yourself apart, and a lot of that's through marketing, a lot of that through just making a game that kind of like ticks certain boxes. You kind of have to do your research and understand what games sell, what games don't sell. Kind of the classic example is puzzle platformers. There's a really, really tough game to market. Not that you can't do it; it's just kind of like you're making it a little bit more difficult for yourself. So I think
True,
doing
true.
a bit of research into the kind of games that players want, where there's kind of like an underserved market, a lot of that will kind of get you a lot of the way there. On the marketing side, it changes every month, every couple months. Like the kind of whole what's working, what's not working changes all the time. So you really have to kind of like stay on top of the trends. And yeah, I find as soon as you get comfortable with one method of marketing, it stops being successful. You have to kind of like move along and find the next thing. So right now that's events. So like Steam Next Fest and like those kind of things, the big kind of demo festivals. But in a couple months, who knows? Even Steam Next Fest isn't really being very successful anymore. It's a bit too crowded. So you kind of have to always be kind of on your toes and always learning and always seeing what else is out there. So it's a tough business. Like it really is a tough business, and you put so much of you really put all your eggs into one basket because games take so long to make, they're very expensive to make, they're time consuming to make. And so, like I said, if you make a game, you spend 4 years on it, and it doesn't do very well, you're kind of in a tough spot, right? Financially
True.
and business wise. So it's a tough business.
Okay. Okay. Were there, by the way, any of those times when like you wanted to give up during the development process of your
Oh yeah,
game?
yeah. I think more often than not, honestly. And that's you asked way earlier on at the very beginning of this, like when having that kind of support network of friends and family who are there, that can be a huge help because it is really easy to say, you know what, I'm just going to stop making the game.
True.
You know what I
True.
mean? Especially if you're not like marketing and putting yourself out there, there's no expectation. No one knows that you're making a
True.
game. It's
True.
really easy to just shy away and stop
True.
working on
True.
it.
True.
That's kind of another benefit of marketing and having that support network is it kind of keeps you accountable. Um, it
And
keeps
then
you
people
kind
are
of like
waiting for your game
working
if they
away.
see it right throughout
Yeah,
the process of making it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's really motivating as well too, right? When you have people offering feedback and
True.
excited and they're asking questions
True,
and they
true,
want to know
true.
more, and that can be really
That's the
motivating. So that's
confidence that you
a
were
good,
talking about earlier, right? So,
exactly.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a huge part of it as well.
Okay, okay, okay. Thank you. Okay, as far as I see, there are no more questions, but you will be able to ask questions on my Discord as well, ladies and gentlemen. So, yeah. By the way, so what would be your closing thoughts to end up our interview? Because usually I do that, but since we had like a very unique conversation about all those things that we discussed. Now I give you my role to end the interview. What would be the closing thoughts of your game, of your experience, of your life throughout the journey of making your own game?
Yeah, I mean, I think making Feral North was really just a special experience. It kind of like it shaped me as a person. This sounds kind of corny, but um,
No, it's not. In
4
my
years of your
opinion,
life
I
is
understand that. I understand that. Like you mentioned it, like it shaped you for the better of understanding that people around you matter, and going back to those places where you grow up also matters. Like it's you have a
yeah,
limited time, right, to live, and not appreciating that, or just not realizing that you have to be with those people who you love more. It's like it can be like running out of your hands, right? So it's like you're working, making all those things that it's important to you, but you forget about all the other things that also important to you.
yeah, totally. And like I was gonna say, 4 years of your life is a long time, and you grow a lot during that period, and that was certainly true for me. I really grew a lot during the course of Feral North, and I think it's the thing I'm most proud of that I've ever done, and yeah, I just really grew a lot during that. So if game development sounds like your kind of thing, I have a lot of stuff on YouTube you can check out and maybe get you inspired to work on games. If the game sounds good, you can check that out too. I'd really appreciate it. And yeah, I think that's it.
Thank you for that. And like I said, I'm
Thank
very
you. Thank you
honored
for having me.
that you joined us for today. And for those who are watching us live stream, thank you very much that you tuned in to the stream. And for those who ask questions, thank you as well. And for those who will be watching back the VOD or the edited version later date this year, thank you very much. And yeah, thank you for everyone, and
Awesome.
thank you, Kai, that you joined us for today's episode. Like I said earlier,
My
I will
pleasure.
need some of your more minutes, but for those who are here, thank
Of
you so
course.
much, and have a great day and night depending where you live. Thank you. Bye bye.